Greetings, dear listeners. Our apologies once again for having it be a full month since we released our last episode. Jason and I have both been attempting to finish and release our latest projects to the world, so I am seriously just like a week away from maybe 2 weeks. I don't want to keep giving myself false deadlines of the next album that I've been creating over the last couple of years. Super pumped for it. Almost done. And I can't wait to share it with all of you. And Jason has been putting together and finishing a new book that he's writing. So we'll have more information for you very soon on both of those projects for you to check out. And without further ado, here's our next episode. And we thank you all for sticking around and being so supportive, and for giving us this time and space to kind of focus on other projects that we have in the fire. We have some awesome episodes and interviews coming up with some really great dreamers. Super pumped to share those incredible stories with you guys. So please stay tuned. We have some phenomenal storytelling coming ahead. So thank you. And here we go. Our modern Western culture places little to no value on the power of our nightly dreams to inspire, shift, and reorganize our lives. This podcast demands a deep reconsideration of the role dreams play on our path to a more vital and meaningful life. The following is living proof of the life-affirming power of dreams to affect change and redirect the trajectory of our inner and outer lives. These are the dreams that shape us. Many of us are seeking our quote-unquote soulmate, or maybe more fitting here, the person of our dreams. But few, probably less than few, actually meet a love interest from their actual dreams. So welcome to our first romance on the Dreams That Shape Us podcast. It's exciting for me. So, man, love is such a potent force in dreams. And when Mariah swoops into Cougar's dream, she says something to him that leaves such a mark on him that he spends the next decade or so looking for her in his waking life, praying that she is a real person. And while most dreams of falling in love are a powerful way of the psyche encouraging you to recognize the kind of nourishing love that you can have with your inner self, this story has become a beautiful waking life miracle. It's such a cool story. I really hope you enjoy it.
Today on the Dreams That Shape Us podcast, we have a very special interview. Not that they aren't all special, but what we are about to delve into is a rare experience. And it's rare because when people share dreams, they usually don't find each other unless they already know each other. Most people don't know that we can share dreams, that some dreams are energetic enough that they create a space where two or more people can meet up in and share an experience in that space. Now, if you have like a sibling and you grew up together and you're sharing your dreams, and at some point one sibling says, "Hey, I had this wild dream with all these details and you were in it," and the other sibling says, "Wait a minute, I had the exact same dream," and then they start filling in details that the other one didn't share yet, and they know that they were actually in a shared dream space. Well, they're growing up together and they share their dreams, so it's more likely that if they did share a dream that they would know about it because they share the dream, the experience with each other and the details of it. Well, what about when cases where two people don't know each other yet? How in the world would they ever meet? I'm Rattled at Reddit, moderator at dreams.reddit.com, and it's a very large online dream sharing platform community. And every once in a while, we get a post where someone says, I had this wonderful dream and there was a person who was in it. We made this great connection. I don't know the person, but it feels to me like they're real. They're out there somewhere. And I'm here because I'm hoping that person sees this post and will respond. Well, usually the results are, say, inconclusive because if it is a shared dream, the other person is not coming to Reddit and seeing the post and responding to it. Or maybe there's another explanation for it, and I got to kind of be the bad guy and say, well, the dream character is probably some aspect of yourself that you're interacting with, and this great connection you have with them is, well, it's a dream's way of promoting internal unity and bonding. I mean, what better way of promoting self-love than creating a character that you fall in love with or that you have deep attraction and great interaction with? So there are explanations for why people have these experiences. And usually we can't find those two people who shared a dream and they don't know each other already to connect. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I have with me Cougar and Mariah. And Cougar came to Reddit Dreams, created a post, said, I had this wonderful dream. I was flying, and he held back some of the details and asked, is there someone out there who remembers sharing this dream with me? And sure enough, Mariah, somehow she saw that post and came in and said, yeah, that's me. And now the two of them are on the phone with me and we're going to talk about their dream. What a awesome, wonderful experience. Cougar and Mariah, thank you for being on the Dreams That Shape Us podcast. Sharing your time and your experience with us is a special thing and it's greatly appreciated. So say hi to the listeners of the Dreams That Shape Us.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. This is really exciting.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Well, let's dive in. Cougar, I want to start with you. I gave the summary. You created a post. You were looking for someone that you didn't know at the time was Mariah. Will you pick it up from there and tell us about that experience?
Yeah. So I started lucid dreaming back in middle school, largely because I wanted to do it for a science project and started flying in my dreams around that time, and lucid flying. And I began since then from middle school on up into my mid-20s having all these flying dreams. But the biggest thing was, one, there was no one in the flying dreams ever, as well as it was a real strong sensation in my chest. So one night I had a dream where I was flying and all of a sudden out of nowhere, this person came flying super fast next to me and they landed in this location. I quickly dropped down and it was this girl and we were much kind of younger and she just quickly looked at me and said, when you're ready, you'll find me. And then she just darted off and I knew I couldn't catch up. I wasn't that fast. And so then that became kind of a hunt and looking around for interpretations. And I have to admit, it became my kind of go-to question in kind of dating. I would ask anyone I went on a date with if they flew in their dreams. And I had dated some girls who had and some who hadn't. And then last year with COVID and everything, I decided, well, what better place to kind of ask the question than to bring it to Reddit and see if I could put down the location and see what happens. Got incredible responses, a lot like Jim, you were talking about, different interpretations, and a lot of things that also really deeply spoke to me. And then there was just this one post that literally just said, I can fly. And so I reached out to a few people, kind of just messaging them, seeing if there was any kind of connection or anything of that sort. And then Mariah was the one that wrote I Could Fly, wrote her. One of the biggest things in the dream was the girl was blonde. And we quickly started discussing dreams, quickly became fascinated because Mariah can fly super fast in her dreams. And then, it escalated really quick, where we were already, babe? We were talking within 3 days?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, because it's Reddit, so we're like, oh, is this anonymous? And I could be talking to anyone. And I think, yeah, within 3 days, we were like, oh, quickly moved onto FaceTime, right, love? I think we went
Yeah.
to FaceTime to meet. And yeah, just across the board was astounded. I, of course, have always had kind of my doubts. I'd met so many people after asking around for this dream, but we so quickly connected. And that's kind of how it all started.
And when I read your discussion thread, the original post and then your follow up at Reddit, you said that you held back some of the details of the dream because you didn't, you wanted to be able to verify this, that if there was someone out there who shared that dream with you and they did happen to see your post, hey, synchronicities do happen, right? That you didn't want someone who's just pulling your leg. You wanted them to be able to fill in the blanks, the details that you held back. And Mariah, is that right? That you were able to tell Cougar what happened in the dream that he didn't share publicly?
Sort of. So I still dream that I could fly. I've been dreaming that I could fly like my whole life. So I've had a lot of flying dreams. And so, I just talked about a lot of the type of dreams that I have and how I also feel it, coming from my chest and what types of locations that I fly from when I do fly. And he had described, that we were on a playground, and I've been so many places. I definitely, I've
in your
been
dreams,
everywhere.
places in your dreams. Yeah.
Oh yes, in my dreams, yes.
Just
So,
to clarify, you could have been many places in your life too, but we're talking about you've been doing this since you were a child and you're able to fly around. So you've been around the world, girl. I mean,
pretty much.
you've been places and seen things, but you were so go ahead and tell us about the playground.
Yeah. So, I like this was a long time ago, so I don't really remember that specifically. I think Cougar remembers that a lot more than me, but I definitely know that I've flown in all of these places. And when he asked on Reddit, like, oh, do you ever fly in your dreams? I'm like, when do I not fly in my dreams? And then we just started talking, and we had that part alone was very, it was very unusual. And then we just ended up having so much in common. And things progressed really fast. And it's all just because of that dream. That's crazy.
So Reddit is now a dating service. You meet each other in your dreams. Talk about the ultimate compatibility test, because people can present themselves like on, say, like Tinder or eHarmony or something. They present themselves one way, but maybe there's, we'll just say they're putting their best foot forward. But when you're in a dream, this is sort of the honest, authentic you. And if you're meeting in a dream space, then you're seeing the real person. Did you two come away with that sense that you're really seeing the authentic person in the dream space, or was there something where there were discrepancies between what you experienced in the dream and what you know of each other in, shall we say, ordinary reality?
Well, one of the I guess I shouldn't say I'm going to pick a better word than this. One of the wildest parts, I don't even think I posted much about this on the Reddit because, anyone can be blonde, really. But when COVID hit, after quarantine, we had started talking. I had went to visit her apartment, and we went through a lot of her photos. And one of the weirder things was when I had the time of the dream, I was in my 20s, but when I was flying, I was more inside of like a child's body. And the girl next to me on the swings had more of a blonde bob cut, kind of that short haircut around like the ears and everything. Which when Mariah's hair, especially now, it's very long, it's down to her back. But as a kid, when I was looking at the photos, it was one of those really bizarre, strange moments when she was really small. Most of her haircuts and everything with a small blonde bob.
So this is a wild. Now let's kind of go through the time frame here. When did the dream first? When did the dream happen?
I had it in my mid-20s. I think it was. Oh God, was it? I'm probably going to misquote myself here. 24, 25.
And how long ago was that?
So long ago. So I'm 38 now. So yeah, that was about a decade ago, a decade and a half.
So this dream stuck with you all that time. And then we get into the COVID lockdown and you're still thinking about that dream, and you get the urge to go to Reddit and see if that person who was in a dream more than a decade ago might be out there and see your post.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asking around for, that long. And of course, kind of going through all the different types of interpretations. And over time, I kind of just decided that whatever kind of came from it, either my own ego speaking, I've had other interesting dreams where it kind of becomes that. But it kept kind of just plaguing me. And honestly, unfortunately, my last ex, the one before Mariah, didn't fly in her dreams at all. And I have to admit, it's a weird kind of disconnection for me. I don't know how else to explain it other than there was a really misfiring of kind of compatibility, but you also don't want to rely on that, of course, because it could just be my ego, all kinds of things. And COVID with lockdown, I was just in my house pretty much alone and thought, I felt this urge. It was coming up onto my birthday in August, felt an urge to kind of, let's explore, and found the dreams community on Reddit. And I was like, oh, this is a better place than ever to kind of post it and kind of go from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I can see the, the eHarmony profile and, the bullet points, and it says must be able to fly in your dreams. And here's a really fascinating aspect of this is that you both saw each other. I mean, a playground is kind of a child's space. It's a place for fun and ease. This is where you, when you landed in the dream, or when Mariah went flying off like a hummingbird, eventually you found her in this playground, and you see her with the haircut that she had as a child. And then you see childhood pictures of her, and that's what her hair looked like. Now, is Mariah, from your end, did Cougar look like the boy that you met in your dream?
It's strange. And I've been asked what people look like just in general in my dreams, and I don't see faces. So my dreams are much more vague when it comes to the actual people in them. So no, unfortunately, I wouldn't recognize him. I don't know why that is. I think, in my day-to-day waking life, I tend to not look at people's faces for whatever reason. I think maybe I'm just really shy. But in my dreams also, they're all faceless.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is it more like by feel? Like, it sounds to me like you're very sensitive to people, and you talked about this feeling coming from your chest, the heart center. And so what I'm thinking is that maybe you're someone who you don't need to see a person, you want to feel and experience them in a deeper sort of way.
Yeah, that's actually very accurate. Because even when I do have dreams of people like my mom or somebody in my dream, they don't look like themselves, but I just feel them, So that's very accurate. It's pretty crazy.
Now, will you tell me more about this feeling in your chest? You say when you fly that there's this feeling in your chest. Will you describe that?
In a way, so when I fly, I feel like I need to kind of jump up into the air, and I kind of hold my breath. And so it's hard to describe, but like I feel like I'm holding my breath and I'm being lifted up by my chest. And I could just float, like I don't need to use my arms or anything, but that's how I fly. And it's like my chest is a balloon or something in a way. I guess that's the best way to describe it. And it's really,
so how do you get
really
the
interesting.
speed going?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I just can fly so fast. There's been times in my dreams where, you ever have those dreams where you're trying to run and it's like you're running through quicksand and you can barely
Yeah.
move. So I'll have those and I can't move, and then I'll just remember, why don't I just fly? And so I just jump up into the air and I could fly so fast. So I don't really know how I do it, but I always can fly very, very fast. It's really
And
fun.
you started doing this as a child, maybe around the age that the picture that Cougar saw of you, that playground age. You were already
Yeah.
flying in your dreams at that age?
Oh yeah, I'm
Wow.
sure, because I've always been flying in my dreams. Yeah, so I'm sure.
So Cougar, what's your, you said also that there's a feeling you get in your chest. Is it similar to Mariah's experience?
Yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest thing, because whenever I'd come across someone who I told the dream to, or I'd just ask, do you fly in dreams? I'd always ask, well, what's it feel like? Where? And I never met one. I'm sure there is others out there. I never met anyone that felt it from the chest, which always seemed to be logic to me, because it's that heart center. And so very much I feel kind of that string pull from it. It's kind of I don't know if you've ever seen Donnie Darko, when he kind of has this tunnel kind of coming from his chest. It's kind of this feeling that like all the power is just coming out from within my chest and kind of directing it. And that's what kind of lifts me up and kind of like flies and directs, and where all my kind of flying power comes from. Yeah.
So we often think of lucid dreaming as a mental experience, but it sounds like for the two of you that it's a heart experience.
Very much so. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Okay. And just for a listener's sake, to throw something out there, the heart field, it generates an electromagnetic field that has been detected up to 7 feet away. And so the brain, though, only has an electromagnetic field that it barely can be detected beyond, the head area. So when you talk about the power of the energy field that's being generated, the heart is much, much more powerful than the brain. And so this might be something that's going into what your experience is. The energy center for creating this energetic space is coming from the heart. Now, have had either of you, Cougar, you said that you'd never met anyone in a flying, shared dream space before. Mariah, is that the same for you, or had you met other people before in your dreams?
No, I haven't. So it's very unique. And that's what I thought was so special about it, because I don't normally meet people in my dreams, and I just thought, I feel like the universe wanted us to be together, because we weren't, there was no traditional, like you're meeting at a bar or you're on Tinder or something, I think this was like truly the universe itself.
Well, what drew you to Reddit that day? Cougar makes a post, says, hey, I had this dream a long time ago. I was flying, and he holds back some details, and he's waiting for someone to respond. But I want to make sure I'm getting this right, because did you respond to that initial post that he wrote? Okay,
yeah,
so
I
you were
did.
in that discussion thread somewhere. I was looking for you, and I wasn't sure where, because you two took it off. You went to private messaging after you responded with the correct answer, in the sense that you knew that you'd landed up at a playground. And I saw other people in the thread who were like, yeah, I've had a flying dream and there was this guy in it and we landed on top of a building or we landed in the trees or something like that, And so then I see the discussion like Cougar would be very, gracious, but kind of say, well, that wasn't what happened in the dream.
Right.
And
next.
then you come along. Yeah. Next, swipe left, or swipe right, And so so you come along and you say, well, I had this flying dream and there was a guy in it and we landed in a playground. Is that how it transpired?
No, it was more vague. I think I literally just said like, oh yeah, I fly in my dreams. And then I actually left to go on a camping trip. And so I didn't have any internet reception. I get back like a week later and there's a DM from somebody in my Reddit and people never DM me. And I was like, oh, it's that guy from that dream Reddit. So, and then we just started talking and that's when we realized like, wow, this is really strange.
Wow. All right. So what brought you to Reddit that day? We're talking about a cosmic connection that seems to be at work here. And you were already a Redditor, but, to find his post is kind of a needle in the haystack. What drew you to it?
I know, honestly, that's why I just believe that it was the universe bringing us together because I wasn't on Reddit that day or any day really looking for anything specific. I was already a subscriber to the Dreams subreddit just because I thought that one was interesting. And I just happened to see his post just stuck out. Thank God it showed up in my feed, and just because, it was somebody asking about flying and I'm like, I always fly in my dreams. I have to respond. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It was just really, really lucky, but I feel like it was fate.
And Cougar, on your end, you obviously were there because you were hoping that someone, who also flew in their dreams, not just in general, but specifically in your dreams, was out there. Was there something that, like some people call it like a little voice or an intuition or something? Was that involved with you making that post? Was there something that kind of led you or pushed you or drew you into it?
Desperation. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Hey, we can admit it's okay.
So the funny story, the kind of other odd thing too is, and I'm sure this is fine to talk about, pretty open about like everyone's mental health journey. And I had just had a long string of very kind of unfortunate relationships that right before I had done that post, I specifically sought out a therapist to finally kind of go through and be like, break a lot of relationship patterns. And as soon as I got that and we started doing the work, I would say I felt kind of really hopeful kind of compulsion, but also just honestly trying to be realistic. Like, okay, worst thing that happens, I find a lot out all about people and their flying dreams. And then putting that up, especially kind of getting that kind of intuition. And then when I hit some, like, as you were kind of saying earlier, people responding, I was still hopeful, but I kind of was trying to be, I guess, realistic about it and just enjoying kind of trying to figure out what the different interpretations were. And I'm trying to think of the word. I was actually pretty skeptic, for to be honest, kind of like a hopeful but skeptic. And then when Mariah finally wrote back, and it was one of those things where just communicating back and forth, finding out about the flying dream was not only awesome, but then also building up just everything else to within 3 days, finding out we had so much in common. And also, Mariah knows I love her dearly, so I hope I can say this, babe, that she's typically probably not someone I would have gone for on a dating app. And in the middle of COVID, to then tell a therapist, okay, I'm considering, I kind of want to see this person. And I'm really intrigued in all of this. And as we discussed it and talked about it and met Mariah more, one, she became fully therapist approved. So much so that we realized, oh yeah, this is actually someone who really does break a lot of the patterns. And so in some kind of crazy way, it does kind of like, I came to a place where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of really ready. I worked through a lot of my past traumas in growing up to kind of be at a place where I could see and be open to someone as fantastic as Mariah.
That's such an amazing story. And the thing that blows my mind the most about it is how much their story parallels the story of me meeting Erica. I mean, I shared a little bit of the story in the episode with Lisi when I had the dream that helped me make the decision of moving to New York right when I had met her. And so if you've heard that episode, you know that me and Erica met on MySpace back when MySpace was still a thing. And so it's like a non-traditional dating site, right? You didn't get on MySpace to date people. Like you don't necessarily go to Reddit to find your true love. And the thing that I think is amazing that I also spoke to in my episode with Aaron was that between the relationship I had before Erica and meeting Erica is I did a lot of work on myself so that the next time I met somebody incredible, that I would be ready, personally, that I would be ready. And so I think it's amazing to see the parallels here that the two of our stories hold. That's really, really cool. And the other thing about my story is that Erica would have never found me on MySpace had I not had taken on the stage name Aquarius, because for a while, right now I call myself AQ the Dreamwalker for my music, but it was Aquarius for a long, long time, and which is where AQ comes from. And not only that, but had I not sampled the Fifth Dimension song, The Age of Aquarius, you know the song? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Yeah, I sampled that song as a hip-hop beat. And had I not done that, had I not taken on Aquarius, had I not sampled that song, she would have never found me because that's how she found me. She searched the Age of Aquarius song, and because I had a song on my MySpace page called Age of Aquarius, it's the only reason why we found each other. I mean, who knows if somehow we could have found each other some other way, but we literally were half a country away from each other. We could have easily gone the rest of our lives, never met each other. So I think the fact that they found each other, which defies crazy amount of odds, just crazy amount of odds, that you would just throw up a random post on Reddit and the woman of your dreams would just happen to see it, and the two of you would find each other like that. Like that to me is so incredibly beautiful and so amazing. And I love that type of stuff. I really do. So congrats, you two. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. So you were ready for this. You'd worked through the issues, you'd been through the disappointments. You kind of had a lot of experiences telling you what wasn't right for you.
Yep.
It sounds like that this is kind of an odd piece to the puzzle in the sense that finding someone else that fits with you, has the right shape to fit into those nooks and crannies of your being was, you're not just sort of the looking for the standard thing, that there was something very specific you were looking for. Not very specific, but there was a heart connection that you were looking for that had been lacking. And maybe it was lacking in the people, and maybe it just wasn't the right time for you. Now, we've covered a lot of the 5 W's here, but there's one thing that we haven't talked about yet. Where were the two of you when you met? Because if you met over Reddit, and right now, and before we went live, you told me you two were in the same room. So you've gone from being in 2 different points on the face of this planet to being in the same point. And I think there's something that needs to be filled in there. So will you tell me where you were and then what's going on now?
It's obviously going well now.
You live with each other?
We do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So where are you two at? You can say state, town, whatever.
Well, so we're in Southern California, and when we first started talking on Reddit, besides the fact that I didn't even know if is is he a kid? Is he like an old lady? Like, I don't know, and he doesn't know the same about me, you know.
Yeah.
And Reddit's worldwide, so he could have been somebody in like Germany or something for all I knew. So, you know, I'm from California, and then I was pretty happy to find out that he was only in Colorado, so he wasn't that far away. But yeah, things just progressed really quickly, I think, because of COVID, and that we can work remotely, so we can travel and keep working. And we're here together in California, and we're looking to buy a house together. So it's
Wow.
going well.
So this is not only a Reddit love story, it's a COVID love story. I mean, most people's lives kind of, fell apart. Now, I don't want to say, during lockdown, it's been a very challenging time, and it's, people have been separated. This is one of the things that has come across from conversations and discussions and stuff is that we're all in our homes and we're isolated and we miss each other. And dating during, lockdown, well, that's almost an impossibility. So, the odds of finding love during lockdown are, let's just say that they're pretty darn low. But for the two of you, there was this, you had this experience where you found each other first online. You worked through all the initial feeling each other out and making sure that you're actually real and that this isn't some, scammer in the Ukraine who's going to ask you next for plane, just send me, your life savings and I'll fly to you and we'll be love ever after. And then you go from different points, Colorado to California, and now you're in the same place. So this brings me around to another question. We're talking about location. We're talking about shared dream spaces. Have the two of you shared any other dreams?
You can jump in on this one, love.
So I have seen Cougar in my dreams. I think, I've definitely seen him in my dreams. I remember specifically, since we've been together, there was some dream, and I just remember a little piece of it. But I remember we were walking through some dark, like swampy place, and I was like, ew, I don't want to walk here. There's all these bugs. It's a weird dream. And so I remember I jumped up into the air to fly, and then he wanted to walk. So I think we were holding hands. He was walking in my dream, and I don't know whether or not that was shared. Cougar can tell you that, but that was one of my dreams that I do specifically remember with him in it. That was pretty
all right,
recent.
It could be symbolic, but Cougar, do you remember walking through a dark, swampy space and she goes flying up into the air?
No, it would be amazing. I don't, but the kind of odd, another, I guess, small twist in it is, long story short, I used to be an actor, and in Colorado, I did move to LA for a while, and outside of, so this would have been later in my early 30s, and I was flying up until then in all my dreams. In LA, one of the dreams I had, all of a sudden I was in a world where everyone flew. So outside of the little girl in my 20s, that was the only other time where I had people around me flying. And so actually, to be honest, disheartened that I hadn't had a flying dream since. And a lot of my interpretation was, I was a small fish in a big pond, and I hadn't had a flying dream since then. And then when Mariah moved to Colorado, was spending time with me in Colorado, this was probably around in December, because we were talking about flying dreams all the time. And most of the time we go to bed or wake up and she's like, did you fly? Because I've been desperate to fly again in my dreams. And since then, it hasn't been a lot. In fact, it's only been one flying dream, and I vaguely remember it. Because the way I used to have to fly from that chest and building it up, I would start running, and then another night I would get to a place where I'd been flying so much I could just hover or shoot off, etc. And so yeah, to finally have a flying dream was huge in itself. I don't remember it, and sadly, no, I don't remember the swamp. But I will say we have been desperately now trying to fly together in dreams. And I think Mariah asks me every night if we're if we're going to go flying in our dreams tonight and if I'll join her. Pretty cool.
Wow. So it sounds like you need to be cleared for takeoff. The tower says, okay, you two, you're on the runway. It's okay. Skies are clear. Winds are coming in from the southeast at 10 miles an hour. And have a safe flight and have some fun. The sense of joy and ease, it sounds like that's what you've both experienced from flying. Is that, you want to fly again, you say in your dreams. What is it about the experience that you want to have? Yes, flying, obviously, but what does that mean to you? What does it do for you?
For me, it's very much freedom, and just peace and joy. It's like when doing yoga or anything, when you take it like that really third, deep, big breath, just to kind of release, that's it. It's just kind of that complete being in the flow of kind of the freedom. That's what flying feels like the most for me personally.
Mariah,
yeah, same.
How does it feel for you?
It's totally the same. It's just absolute freedom. Especially the fact that you could fly to places that you can't access normally. Being from California and growing up around a lot of redwood trees, I end up having redwoods in my dreams a lot. And I like to fly to the tops of those trees where, obviously normally, unless you're a bird, you can't go to the tops of those trees.
400 feet off the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like one of my favorite things to do is just go really, really high, where I wouldn't, which is ironic because I'm actually terrified of heights. But in my dreams, it's not scary. But it's just, great to have that freedom.
And this sounds to me I don't want to put the suggestion in your mind before I ask the question, but this is the way I'm hearing it in my head is that this freedom and ease, the opposite of that is heaviness. Have you found that if you're experiencing heaviness in your ordinary waking life, that it prevents you from flying in your dreams? Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you want to fly because of that heaviness. Is there a relationship between those two ideas in your experience?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't think personally, I don't think there's been a time where I couldn't fly. I fly just like you would walk. Pretty much any dream that I have, I could fly in. So it doesn't seem to be affected by anything going on in my life. Thank goodness. But that's a really interesting question now.
Are you lucid while flying?
No, not at all. I don't know how to do lucid dreaming. So I'm never aware of the fact that I am dreaming. I think it's real. So, which to me, makes it like just as good as if I could fly in real life. Because as far as I'm aware, when I'm asleep, that's real life. It feels very real. And I've never, ever once realized that I was dreaming while I was dreaming.
Wow. Okay, so Cougar, you can take maybe some flying lessons from Mariah. I mean, you already know how to fly, but she does it more readily than you do. And Mariah, you can take some lucid dreaming lessons from Cougar. And maybe have an experiment. I'm going to throw this out at you. This is not you two are not the first ones to have these experiences of meeting up in a dream. This was done intentionally by the Monroe Institute. What I know is they started doing this back in the 1970s. And they had a laboratory there where they could put people basically in like a Faraday cage, electromagnetically shielded. They knew that there weren't other factors coming into this, creating this experience where two people in separate rooms, electromagnetically shielded, with Bob Monroe in a control center being able to hear both of them. These two people who were experienced lucid dreamers went to sleep, became lucid, and intentionally met up in the same space, had experiences, and then verified it with Bob before talking with each other. And
Wow.
Bob was able to say that, yeah, they were in the same space with each other. They were in a dream space. They were lucid, and it was the same space. These experiments have been reproduced, and I can hear the two of you going, wow, and what it tells me is that most people don't know that this has been done. And it kind of blows my mind because the research is out there. The experiments have been done. They've been done under controlled settings, and there's not like an agenda behind it other than just scientific research to explore the boundaries, to find out what's out there. Bob Monroe is famous for his book Journeys Out of Body, and two others. One was called Final Journey. And he was a very successful radio broadcaster who started having out-of-body experiences spontaneously. And he wanted to know what in the world was going on. So he went through the whole checklist. This is back during the 1960s and before anybody really knew what lucid dreaming was. Or even, astral projection in the Western world wasn't really known. And he went through all of the checklists. Did he have a tumor? Okay, let's go see the neurologist. Is he experiencing some of the other health issue? Okay, let's have a full body checkup. Am I going crazy? He goes to see a psychiatrist, has a workup done. He went to see another psychiatrist and said, look, I think I'm journeying out of my body. I want you to tell me, to play devil's advocate here and tell me what's going on, from a psychological perspective. And they talked about schizoid delusions and, ego, he might have an ego that's, raging for attention. He went through all of that, checked off all the lists and said, no, none of this is it. I'm actually leaving my body and it's happening spontaneously. He cultivated the ability to be able to do it. And by the way, he had a sleep laboratory and he found out that everyone leaves their body spontaneously during the delta stage of sleep.
Wow.
Everyone.
Huh, wow.
Edgar Cayce said the same thing. He didn't say during delta stage, but he said that every night while we dream, our souls have experiences outside of our bodies. And replace the word soul with consciousness or whatever for those who, I don't believe in a soul, but hey, you believe in consciousness because you're alive and hearing this right now. You're
Right.
a conscious being. So
Yep.
that consciousness can separate from the body. Let me ask you this. Is that what you're experiencing in the dreams when you're flying? Is your body coming with you? You were in different bodies, younger versions of yourselves, but it wasn't the adult versions when you were, at least in the one dream experience that you've had. So it tells you that there's a malleability to this experience. How closely do you feel like you're tied to your ordinary reality, your ordinary self when you're having these dream experiences?
Well, for me,
I
I feel like there's a lot of freedom, and I can go anywhere and do anything. So I don't feel like I'm tied to my physical body, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
And
what is your sense of your physical self at the time?
So one thing that I can often do in my dreams is I end up going underneath the ocean, like literally to the bottom of the ocean, or I'll go into space and it's just me and my body. And I've never once felt, oh my God, I'm going to drown, or, oh, I'm in space, just hanging out here, just my body, and I'm going to suffocate and die. Like you don't have to worry about that. So it's maybe it is like my soul, it's myself that doesn't have my body. And I also, side note, hope that's what happens to us when we die, that I still can do all of these things, when I'm not tied to my body. But yeah, I just kind of don't really I have a little bit of a sense of my body because, like I said, I feel things like in my chest, but it's different from my physical body, if that makes sense.
So it's kind of like an energy body.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it. Okay. Cougar, for you, does it feel like an energy body, or how closely are you tied to your sense of your physical self while you're having these dream experiences?
I would say it's very separate. It's very leaving, especially when I've lucid dream. There's an attachment, I guess I would say, in that it's a understanding of my body and just and the self, I guess, that's associated with the body, but doesn't feel connected. to it in the physical sense. It feels kind of, very separate, leaving it sort of malleable, I guess I would say would be the word.
I guess for me, in the lucid dreams that I've had personally, I guess to answer Jason's question in two ways. So my sense of my body in a lucid dream, as far as like the difference between my dream body that's happening within the dream and my body in the waking state, I guess I don't have as much of a sense of the body, the physical body in that regard. So what he's about to say after I get done talking here is he's going to be talking about transforming into other things. And in that regard, the dream body feels very malleable, just like Cougar said, where it's kind of fluid in that way that it can do things that traditionally your physical body can't do. Like I'm able to stick my finger through the palm of my other hand and wiggle it and see it. And there's a very bizarre and surreal feeling that happens when I do that, which is hard to explain. It kind of tingles, but the body in the dream is kind of like an energy, just like Mariah had said. So it's a perplexing experience. The other thing, though, that I do want to speak to is that in a lucid dream, especially if you're not super grounded in the lucid dream, you can often feel like you're straddling between the two realities, where you can feel your physical body in the bed and you are there with one foot inside the dream. And that's like the most bizarre feeling that I've ever had, where it's almost like there's this tug of war happening and you have one foot in the dream and one foot where you can completely feel yourself in the bed. You can almost like feel the bed. And the moment that you bring your awareness too fully into the waking reality, you wake up. And that's unfortunate. And a lot of times, especially amateur lucid dreamers, have a hard time staying in the lucid dream for that fact that you're so close to waking, being lucid, being that fully aware, that the awareness itself can be a sabotaging mechanism that wakes you right up, because in that moment, you can think yourself awake. So in that moment of feeling like you're straddling between realities, I don't really know if I know how to put it into words what is happening there. If this is all in your mind, or if you really are in an out-of-body like state. I mean, it almost does feel like that, but I can't say that with any certainty, because it does feel like there is a distance between the reality you're having in the dream and feeling your body outside of that experience on the bed. It's totally bizarre. And I wish I had any conclusive idea of exactly if that meant that I'm out of my body or what, but I don't want to make any accusations one way or the other, because I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, let's say theoretically, or maybe you've experienced this, you could transform. You could say, like, I want to be an animal. Mariah, you remind me of a hummingbird, and I would love, I have a hummingbird feeder right outside of my window. So this comes to mind. I love hummingbirds. I watch them, coming to the feeder and flying off, and they're like little missiles, man. They can go so fast and change directions and stuff. And I'm like, man, wouldn't that be awesome to be a hummingbird? And I've done some shamanic journeying where I had the experience of being a wolf. And was a really like feeling the embodiment of the wolf. But that was a sort of a hypnotic trance type of experience. I was awake enough to, if I could have snapped my fingers, I could have come out of it, and been right back in my awareness of my body. But in the dream space, you have an unlimited opportunity to experience anything that you want to. You're only limited by your imagination and your beliefs. So your body could be any body. It could be no body. Are you looking down and seeing yourself in a body when you're having these experiences?
I'm not. No, I don't ever look down and see myself, because I am myself, body or not. Although I have heard of people doing that, having the out of body experience where they can look down and see themselves. But
where they're out of the body, as in, because I'm talking about body in the dream space, but there are people who leave their body and they look down and they see themselves asleep, which sometimes terrifies them and makes them go back into their body. And other times they go, oh, great. I can leave my body here. It's safe in my bed. It's asleep. And then this point of awareness that I identify as myself, can go off and do whatever I want to. Cougar, is that, has it been like that for you? Tell us what your experience is like.
Yeah, I've kind of had the range. I've kind of had where, it's like consciousness now, where you look down and you see your hands and your feet and your body. I've had a lot where in the dream space, I'm outside my body. So I'm seeing kind of almost like a third person video game kind of. I've never had transforming, which I saw some of that even on the Reddit comments, and have been fascinated about it. Would love to do that. That would be incredible. But yeah, so I've either been inside or kind of looking outside, but it always has been me, or my quote unquote selfness of body. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. We're so attached to our conceptions of ourselves as being beings that are physical. You have a body, your awareness, your consciousness is within that body. So you identify your body as being you. But what people who've gone really deep into this stuff, astral projection, lucid dreaming, they start saying that this conception is fluid, that they realize themselves as being separate from their bodies. Their body is them, but it's not all that they are. And they realize that the body is just a temporary vessel for them to have a physical experience. And then, Mariah, you said that you hope that, once the body is, once you die, that you're going to be able to have the same experience as your dreams, where you're able to just sort of leave and go anywhere, but you're still you.
Mm-hmm.
And having this, and you're still you, and you have this awareness, and you're able to go anywhere. At least that there's something that comes next for you. And I'll tell you, there's something called Tibetan dream yoga, and they cultivate the experience of lucidness and dreams because it's preparation for what comes next.
Oh, wow.
They actually, they
have to look into that.
Yeah, these are, these are the Olympic athletes of meditation and lucid dreaming and gifts of the mind and psychic abilities and stuff like that. I mean, these people cultivate this and practice it for decades, oftentimes from very young children, so their experience of life, living up there in the Himalayas, growing up in temples with master teachers around them, is very different than what most people experience. So, but what they've shown us is that everyone is capable of it. So when you said that you hope that what comes next is like what you're experiencing in your dreams, I'm sitting there thinking, well, talk to some of those, Tibetan dream yoga masters, and they'll tell you that that's, not only is it why they train their minds in such a way to have these experiences, is it's also so that when they do transition out of their body, that they have much more power and ability to be able to shape their experience that comes next, because this is territory they've already been in.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Bob Monroe said the same thing. Bob Monroe, in his journey, he's, astral travel and stuff like that he's done. This is also another term for it also, by the way, is called dream walking. Bob said that was also part of what he learned how to do, because he knew that the place that he was in the astral world was one of the places that he could go to next. What he found is that the universe is it's a cosmos, and it's infinite, that there are experiences that are common that people have once they leave the body. He said that a lot of people get kind of stuck with their conception of having to be near the earth, but that the potential is unlimited, that you can go anywhere and do anything if you'll give yourself the permission to do it. So something interesting for you all to think about. Have you had other paranormal ESP experiences through your dreams? I mean, Mariah, it sounds to me like you consider it ordinary dreaming. You're not lucid, but the experience of flying for you is extraordinary. It's an extraordinary experience in itself. And most people can't do what you do. Most people can't fly in their dreams.
That's
Some people can do it
unfortunate.
after they've cultivated the ability. Yeah. What would you tell? So let me switch gears and just go down this road. What would you tell people if they said, I've never been able to fly in my dreams? How do you do it? What would you tell them?
That's tough because I've never had to try to do it, but I really would love everybody to be able to do it because it's so fun. I would say if you are dreaming and you know you're dreaming, just go for it because you are the ruler of your dreams and you can do anything you want. Be like a hummingbird and just jump, you could do it.
Okay, so kind of claim your power and know that this is something that's sort of your birthright, and you just need to go for it, to claim the power to be able to do it.
Exactly. I think people
And
have
there
this
is
ability and don't realize.
yeah, and maybe there's heaviness that's keeping them down. There might be belief or heavy
Right.
emotions or something like that. And it sounds to me like there's a releasing experience that happens for you when you lift up off the ground. You're just releasing and you're weightless.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And Cougar, for lucid dreaming, what would you tell people if they wanted to learn to do that? What would you tell them or advise them to do?
It's a great question. To almost kind of start waking up. It sounds weird, waking up in your dream. For me, I think even that's why the whole playground thing. I'm very much a Leo, and so having her fly so fast, and even now being able to so easily fly, has really made me relook at a lot of the ways in like, oh, how do I fly? And for me, I would say be open to trying without expectation, especially because it's so freeing that as soon as we kind of put that expectation on, it becomes limiting, which I think is my recent problem with flying. Like how I began with lucid dreaming was kind of, I would have a couple dreams in a row where I would just kind of do a running leap. Kind of if you've ever seen the old like Hulk movies and everything, where he makes
or the Matrix when they're trying to do the first jump from building to building. Okay, you got to believe that you can do it, and if you have any doubt, that's gonna crash land you.
Yeah, exactly. And then kind of building from there. The biggest thing was a lot of, for me at least, feeling where it is in your body. So yeah, for lucid dreamer people doing that, I would almost say like kind of finding where either your power is and also where you need to be released. Because I think what you were saying a lot earlier in the podcast about kind of it being attached to something, it could be something heavy in your life stopping you. I'm very much kind of that kind of flyer. So in kind of meditating, and the biggest thing I've learned about lucid dreaming for me is just the more I pay attention to lucid dreaming consciously. So typically if I'm reading about lucid dreaming, if I'm talking about it, it tends to strengthen my ability and awareness in the dream to do those things.
Yeah, that's been my experience too. I've been trying to learn how to do it, and I have a master shaman. He's also a good friend of mine, who's been teaching me, and we've been doing these interviews. And so I've been trying for months, and it was almost like I was trying too hard. But my last experience of it was what I found was that I became lucid. And immediately there was this woman that I saw in the environment with me, and she's just there and she's smiling at me. Like just suddenly she's there. And I'm like, oh, hello, and there was this, and this is after it was pretty brief because I got too excited and then I was out of the lucid space, but I carried that image of her with me. And what I started, that feeling in a brief moment there were so many things that I felt in that moment. And I mean, the excitement and the connection, but also an ease and a lightness to it. And so when we're talking about flying and being lucid, we're talking about releasing our cares, and being able to just sort of ease out of the thing that's keeping you down. So I've been cultivating that feeling while I'm awake. I can picture her in my mind. The face changes and stuff, but she's a character that I've seen before in my dreams. And also, I felt a connection. I just kind of closed my eyes and reached out my left hand, and I felt her hand slip into mine. So it was as if my mind was going, I'm awake, but my mind is going back into the dream space, and I'm reaching out my hand to find her. And then she reached out her hand, and I could actually feel our hands connect. And so I kind of lightly, got a grip on her, and I've been trying to hold on to that because she is going to be my, she's the pilot of the plane in a sense. Like she's taking me into that space. It's a space that we can share together. So that's what I'm trying to do to cultivate my own lucid dreams. So thank you for listening to that. I wanted to give that for our listeners. And maybe we'll give some more advice about lucid dreaming in a future episode, or maybe as commentary. My co-host, Stephen, is a very experienced lucid dreamer. He has wild experiences in his lucid dreams. So maybe he'll give us some commentary about his experience and advice for people who want to do this.
Well, thank you, Jason. That was high praise. I appreciate that. And I think if I were to give anybody any advice for getting into lucid dreaming, I think the thing that I would most want to say is that I really appreciate the way he is going about it right now. I mean, the image of reaching your hand out for her to take your hand is so immensely beautiful, and it's so felt. I mean, that is amazing, because I feel like the lucid dream is a sacred space. It's a deeply sacred space, and I really do not appreciate the marketing surrounded lucid dreaming. I mean, when I first learned about lucid dreaming after I had my big spontaneous one, the marketing was so like, whoa, you can do anything you want. Like, you can live out your wildest fantasies, man. You can have sex with anyone you want. You can fly, you can blah, you can do. I mean, lucid dreaming is a marketer's wet dream. I mean, you could pretty much tell people they can do absolutely anything. And that's what they do. They tell you can do absolutely anything. But the reality, when you actually begin lucid dreaming, is that control is just as much an illusion in a lucid dream as it is in our waking reality. It's just the truth. You can go into a lucid dream, and I think the subconscious mind humors you to an extent. But my personal experience is that I get checked all the time. If I do not go into a lucid dream respecting that space as a sacred space, as the sacredest space within me, I get checked, because they want something better of me. They expect a level of integrity and authenticity from me that demands a certain level of respect for that space. And like, they'll humor me if I want to try something silly, but at the same time, they want me to use this space intentionally. And more so, I find that if I go into it in a state of surrender, where I'm curious and I'm not trying to necessarily go in there with this major agenda, because my agenda versus the agenda of the deep self is usually at odds with each other. So if you can go about it the way Jason is, where you can be attempting to develop a relationship with your deepest innermost self, I have a great feeling that you will find success. If you go into it merely for fantasy fulfillment, I really don't think you're going to have the success you want. I really don't. It's hard to become lucid. It takes time. Sometimes there's months in between you doing the practices every night. And so if you don't have the stamina to live a lucid life where you are doing the practices every day, you're doing reality checks, you're going to bed intentionally every single night, and still you're only getting like a couple lucid dreams a month, if that, I don't think you're going to be as fulfilled as you want to be unless you're trying to develop a very special, a very sacred relationship with yourself, where the dream opens itself in a whole new dimension for you to be there, fully aware, and to interact with it and to be curious about what it is that it's trying to show you or reveal to you or open within you. I really think if you approach it with that kind of sincerity and that level of respect, then the dream will be more willing to open itself to you in that capacity. So don't believe the hype. Respect your dream characters. Respect the process. Respect the depths of your soul. Don't go in there with a colonial mindset that you're out to tromp all over this new interior landscape of your being and claim it for yourself, because I think that's truly a disservice to yourself. So that's my 2 cents, and Godspeed.
Before we close, is there anything else that you do about your dream lives that you want to share?
Oh, good question.
I think just keep dreaming. There's so many infinite worlds out there, and it's a magical place.
Yeah, I just piggybacking off of that, I would say I feel like we've almost as a humankind have lost the significance and power of dreaming, even in the waking world. I think there's such a depth and such a world to explore. I feel like it's one of those things I would love to see more talk and more igniting, I guess. I would just say overall, just more dreaming, or people hoping to dream and trying to dream. I think it's one of our trying to grip reality so tight when we can find a lot of love, joy, and kind of humanity through dreaming outside of the quote-unquote reality of the world. Does that make sense?
Brother, you just said it right there. That's I don't need to add anything to that. Thank you.
Yes.
And this will be posted once we have the episode up. It might take a little while to get it through production and everything. Steve is going to write custom music and he gives commentary. And then we're going to post this at Reddit. And I hope that the two of you will be part of that discussion. I would like for other people to know that they can meet in their dreams, that they can fly in their dreams, and that this can be a release from the heaviness and ordinariness of life. There's a lot of people who are feeling like the walls are closing in, the box is getting tighter, that their forces from outside of them are trying to keep them down, and that life is not offering. They feel like there's more that life can offer to them, but they just can't find it. They don't know how to get to it. And so they pick up their video game controller, or they, I love video games, but I'm just saying that it becomes a reality for them that's very limiting. And what the two of you are saying is that, man, people, there is such a great world out there. There's an infinite variety of experience you can have. Go for it. And it sounds to me like that's what you would tell Redditors and our listeners of the podcast and anyone else who asked is, use your dreams as your launching pad, because there's a big world out there.
Yes.
There definitely is.
Yes. Yep.
So that concludes another amazing episode of the Dreams That Shape Us podcast. This podcast is created and co-hosted by J.M. DeBoard and me, Steve Erdenwine. All of the original music you heard here today was created and composed by me, Steve Erdenwine. If you want to find out more amazing information from my soul brother, best friend, and my co-host, JM DeBoard, please go to jmdeboard.com. That's jmdebord.com. And be on the lookout for this new book he's writing. It's on nightmares, and it's gonna be amazing. I just know it. And if you want to keep tabs on the progress of the album that I'm about to release so that you can hear it as soon as it comes out, please follow me on Instagram at @AQ_Dreamwalker. I've been putting out a lot of information and dreams and singles for the album. So if you want to be up to date on that kind of thing, please hit me up, follow me. Let's connect. It'll be amazing. And as always, sharing is caring, my friends. We really appreciate all of you who are out there spreading the word about this podcast, giving it to your friends. If you know anybody who's had a dream about someone they love and they're just aching and praying that they're out there somewhere, please pass along this amazing story. And anybody else that you think might benefit from hearing this story, please, it would mean a lot to us if you would share this. And yeah, if you can rate this on Apple Podcasts or leave us a review wherever it is that you listen to this, it really helps. It really does a lot. We need you guys to be able to spread the word. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening always. We're just thrilled, so thrilled to be doing this and having people that care. So thank you deeply. And a big and handsome thanks to Cougar and Mariah for sharing their just amazing, beautiful, heartfelt story with all of us here today. We love you. Until next time, on behalf of James DeBoard and myself, nighty night!